Are you ready to play with stencils? Well, we are, and we have two brand new ones, of course, because this is Stencils and Such. We have the Bluebells, and this is from Hunky Dory, and there's many elements of this with a couple of different circles as well as the Bluebells, and we have this 4.5-inch square from Stamperia, and this is Ornate Bluebells, and we've got so many things to share with you, and this is one of them. This is using the many layers of that stencil. You can see the glitter in there. How did Debbie do that? Well, I'll tell you. Will you please come play with us? Okay, we're going to go step by step with how Lene and Debbie executed their designs. We're going to start with the Bluebells, and we're going to start with the very first card that I showed you. And this card has got so many interesting things going on. I think Debbie just overdid herself. So we have the Bluebells, and as you saw, we'll get in even closer, they are glittery behind them, and they're sparkly on those two outside circles. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the acetate because that's what Debbie told me to. And she did write directions down below. You can see it on the page that shows her card. So I'm taking my craft mat, because you really need that with stencils, and I'm putting my acetate there, and I know that's probably hard to see. And we're going to place the acetate the way that Debbie has it, and this is a 6x6 square of acetate. So I'm using the low-tack tape. Some people like to use washi tape, but we like to keep washi tape for designing rather than as an adhesive. And so I'm going to start with the denim stencil butter. Stencil butter has just been a revelation to us with stencils. And I'm just going to do the center area. However, if I go outside of that, it's okay, because this is going to be trimmed down. And with stencil butter, with any of the stencil butters, they are just beautiful. They are frothy and easy to spread, as you can see. And it surprisingly doesn't take a lot. So as I have played with that, I'm just going to bring in a blob of it. That's a technical term if you want to make note of it. And place that on the stencil. And I'm going to use my palette knife to start spreading it. And I only want it to be in the evacuated spaces. So the spaces where you're seeing the craft mat. Now this stencil has a lot of open space. So that's the part I want to just make sure that I'm covering, and just spreading this in. And as I said, if you go, and it's in Debbie's directions too, if you go outside of the circle, no problem, because after this dries, we are going to cut it in a circle. And here we go. Just keep spreading that. Now, I'm not going to recreate that whole card because there are several layers, but I just want to demonstrate with this card and with all of them just the stenciling process. So that's my goal in all of these webisodes, especially with the stencils, because often they're using different techniques than we've had with other products, and certainly with different materials like the stencil butter. So you can see that I'm scraping it as I go, and that's going to remove the excess. I'm just going to return that to the jar, and you could probably see that that was a healthy amount that I returned to the jar, because that way I can use that in another project. Now the only trick here that I'm seeing is because there is that large open area that I do want to be blue, I want to make sure that I'm not digging into it as I am scraping this across. So you should be able to see those Bluebells in the plastic that is left. Okay, and then I'm just going to put the excess back in. I'm going to definitely put the lid on it because I don't want it to dry out. And I want to put this into my bath water as well as the stencil itself, and separate it from the back acetate. So this is just going to get popped into the pan of water that I have over on the side. And then this is going to be set to dry. And as I said, it's going to, let's see, let me show you the color. So the color is pretty much the same, wet or dry. That's kind of nice. The other thing is that there's a shimmer, and I think you can see it maybe more on the sheet right here, but there is just a shimmer to the stencil butters. Now, this will have to dry, as I said, and then after it is dry, let me clean this off and I'll show you what we're going to do, because we're going to put that glitter on the back of it with the help of a product. So I'll be right back. You know what, I realized I didn't tell you what acetate I was using. I used our heat-resistant acetate because it is firm and it just has a nice substance to it. We do sell acetate by the sheet, but that is a thinner acetate, so it's absolutely your choice. Now, this is still drying, but I wanted to show you how the glitter happens. And this is, although this says glitter foil, and that's the name of it from the Dutch company where we get it, we call it clear glitter adhesive. And there are 4 sheets in there. They are an A4 size, so kind of 8.5 by 11. And as you pull up a corner, you will see that there is a backing sheet, but the sheet that has adhesive on it has glitter embedded in it. Notice at no time do I have glitter on my fingers. I'm not wearing it. It's all attached to the plastic, which is perfect. Now, I'm going to just walk you through this because my piece is absolutely not dry. But what you would do if it were dry is you would take the sticky side of this and attach it to the back of your stencil buttered blueberries, and it will just adhere just because it's adhesive. So you'll do that. Notice how brave I'm being with that being wet. And then you just trim it out. So you will have then, in fact, you can really see it there, can't you? That glittery look behind your bluebells. So it works just really, really nicely. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. It's going to take a little while to dry, and I know that, but I want to get that so I don't end up putting something else in it. So that is the clear glitter adhesive. It just works really, really nicely. Now, something else that Debbie has done on this card is you see this outside border. It is very sparkly and gold. Well, what she did was to take a green piece of cardstock. The cardstock that she used, and she made her card out of it also, is from At the Lake solid cardstock. It's 12 by 12, and she did make her card with it. So the card, because this is a 6-inch card, it started out with a 12 by 12 sheet, just like this, and you 12 by 6, score it in the middle, and of course that is going to become your card base. So that worked out nicely. Now I have a green piece here, and I'm going to do the same thing with my low-tack tape. Thank you, Hunky Dory. And I'm going to take my other stencil, and I'm going to place that down because I just want to show you this step. I'm not going to do the whole thing like I did before. And let me see, let me get my palette knife out of my water, and I'll clean it off with my paper towel. See, there's a whole other stuff going on off camera that you can't see. I actually have a table that's about 8 feet long by about 4, it's a 4 by 8 sheet of wood that's is my base, and that just gives me a lot of room for all the extra pieces, like I said, that you don't see. Okay, so to get that gold look, I'm going to use this. This is the Astro Pace. It is called Slippery When Wet. I do not know why it is called Slippery When Wet, because it is a gold sparkle, but nonetheless, that is what it's called. And this comes from Ranger. And this is going to go along with the palette knife, just along the edge. Now there's two borders. You can see the one that's kind of got X's, and then there's a real narrow one too. So both of those are going to get the gold glitter treatment. This is a paste. And so I'm just going to do, basically what I did with the first layer, except I'm going to control this a little bit by spreading it into the two circles. And again, it's okay if you go outside of that. It makes no difference because we're going to be cutting it once again. So same thing, you want to hear that scraping sound, and you just want to keep moving your paste along the circle. So both sides, both going toward you and away from you. And just spreading it. It's just that easy. Now this too will have to dry. And the same idea is that when you get those evacuated areas filled with the paste, you kind of want to just take your palette knife over it to make sure it's nice and smooth, and then take the excess and put it back in the jar. Okay, and put your tools, your stencils, and your palette knife or whatever you're using in water right away because you don't want these to dry. And just to show you what happened, we'll remove the tape and lift off the stencil. I generally like to lift off the stencil a little bit and make sure it did what I wanted before I just pull the whole thing off. I just find that's helps me prevent any problems. So you can see that is stenciled. It's also, if we get, yeah, you can see it's glittery there. Yeah, that's good. Jeanette, move in closer if you will. So the one line is the X's and O's, the other is solid. And like I said, don't worry about going out of this space because this is going to get trimmed. Okay, now let me clear this off and I'll go back to the card and show you how Debbie used those pieces that she so beautifully created. Okay, so as I said, we have our card. So that's that 12-inch by 6-inch piece that's been scored in the middle. And this has a big circle that is cut out of it because this card, not only does it have some fun stuff going on, it is an easel card. So look at that. I think it's probably better if I have white behind it. So let me do that. There you go. Now you can see. Now the bluebells are glittery white, but because they have that blue background, they look like bluebells to me. So that works nicely. So this piece of acetate with the glitter sheet behind it has been trimmed to be the circle. Then it has been attached to another piece of acetate. And when you attach it, Debbie recommends using the extra sticky tape. And that tape, as you know, is the one that has the red liner. We use it all the time. So you want to use that and then attach those. So you're going to end up with the acetate, the glitter, and then another piece of acetate as one unit. Now you can see how beautifully that outside circle is going to be when it's attached to the acetate also. So really nice. And again, just a little bit of extra sticky tape. And so where would you put the extra sticky tape? Okay, here, you're going to put it behind the blue area. And that'll be enough to attach it. And you don't have to put 500 pieces, just a few pieces. Same thing with this. It's just going to be a few pieces of the extra sticky along the circle after that has been placed on the card. Now the card, obviously the front is going to be scored in half, and you want to make sure that this ring is only going to attach to, or this circle is only going to attach the bottom of it to the bottom of the card front, okay? That's why this flap needs to stay open. With all of those layers, it's really nice and sturdy, so we started with the heat-resistant acetate, several layers, and then we have the paper with the stenciling on top. Really nice. Now inside there is that solid circle that has been attached. You can probably just do this with your liquid glue. And Debbie has also added some dazzles because, you know, of course you would. And the dazzles that she has selected are called petite dazzles. In fact, let me show you. So you see the butterflies, the words "Be Yourself." Also, the corner treatments are hearts, those flourishes, smile, little bird on a branch, a little butterfly, and the word happy, follow your dreams. All of those come from this package. Now, this is in black, white, gold, and silver, but you can see I pulled the backing off so you can really see all of the things that are in here. Follow your dream, bliss, be yourself, happy. There's the butterflies, the little birds, the little tinier butterfly, their flowers and corner treatments, believe, all of these. So this is what she used. And this is also the free gift this month with our Stencils and Such subscription, which I will tell you about in a minute. It's also listed in the Money Saver. So I'll talk about that later. Okay, so this has got multiple layers. And then we did have our other ring of glitter from our paste, which is, again, the Slippery When Wet Astro Paste. And you can see how that just does a nice job of making a circle behind the bluebells because that's all in one stencil. Really, really nice. And then we have this piece needs to be on foam tape. So this is from the Gold Border Dazzles, because you need to have a stopper to hold that easel up. So that little piece right there is going to do the trick. And I'm surprised that it just needs a little bit to hold it up. So there we go. We have got a really unique card. Thank you, Debbie. Okay, now using this same stencil, Lene has a totally different take on it. And this is Lene's. And this is, I believe it's called, in the art world, when there's dots, it's a pointillist, I believe. I know that in Australia, the original people would do a type of pointed little dots in their painting. Lene has interpreted that with the finger daubers. You can kind of see that, can't you? Okay, let me tell you something else that Lene has done. This is not on cardstock. This is on suede. That's right, white suede paper, which is wonderful because it's going to give you that texture and you can kind of pet it. I know Sarah loves to do that. So some multiple things have been done. Now let me pull out the stencil from my water bath and I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to start again. So there's the finished look. So I have my white suede, and you could cut a piece that's 6 inches square. I just hadn't quite done that yet, but I will nest this over in the corner. And I'm going to offset it just a tad so that I use just one piece of low-tack tape. Now, as I said, Lene used the finger dauber, which is a favorite product of hers, and she used 4 colors of inks. So she used hot pink, the orchid, and violet. And orchid and violet are just a great combination. I like the hot pink added to it. Teal she used exclusively on the outside edge, so that that worked out. Now she does trim this out with a cutting die, which I will show you in a minute, but let's stick with this so far as how we're going to do it. Let's start with the lightest color, which is going to be the hot pink, and you're just going to dab it on. So there's no, nothing more difficult than that. And you're going to do it in a random manner because you're going to come back and do the other colors. So you've got 3 colors that are going to be used. And while I was changing things, Jeanette commented that she thought the white suede kind of made it a softer look. So that could be. Now I've just gone back because I just wasn't sure if the color was really saturated enough. So I'm just, whoops, doing this again. Okay, so you can see, and it's going to depend on how juicy your ink pads are, to be sure. Okay, so I have that with the hot pink. Now I'm just going to go into my daubers and pull another one and go into the violet. Or excuse me, this is the orchid. Okay. So now they do touch, so you kind of want to make that happen. The stencil has a tendency to lift the dauber from the stencil, so you just want to make sure that it really gets in there. And it looks like my particular ink pad is not terribly wet, so I might do this a couple of times just to be sure that I'm getting something. And the nice thing about this is that you can go over it, you know, as many times as you want to. You just want to make sure to get the coverage that you want, especially when you're working with 3 different colors. Okay, so you're just going to continue this with the orchid, excuse me, with the violet, and then you can go back and fill in. I'm going to lift this off. It's not going to be too dramatic because I didn't complete leaving any one flower complete, but you get the idea of it. And you will get a little bit of some different colors by the amount of pressure you put and how many times you go back and dot it. So I'm going to move this, and it's not as critical with when you're using the ink pads that you get this cleaned off, but you know, I just think it's good practice to just toss that into the water bath. Now, a couple of other things I want to show you is that as that was finished, well, you can see that the mix of colors around that narrow line, and then also around this line. And Lene used, of course, our circle and scallop dies, and the largest one to cut out that scallop. She did use a set of cards from a Hunky Dory that's a 6x6. It has cards and envelopes, and so that's what she used. To cover her card, she used a nesting place 6x6 papers, and you can see the pink one right here is the one that she used to just completely cover it by picking up the pink that was in the inks. And that's very fun. Now, her bow, or her little knotted piece, is using our dotted ribbon set. So you can see you get lots and lots of dots, and that's really kind of a fun thing because she's got circle dots in her stamping as well as her knotted ribbon. The Enjoy is also out of a nesting place 6x6 papers. And then it looks to me like she went around with the hot pink a little bit around the edges also, just as, you know, just holding that right along the edge. That will give just a little bit more color to that edge. So that takes care of this card. So we've got 2 very, very different looks, which, you know, is exactly what we want. That's what we want to share with you. Okay, so now we're going to go into using this one. And as I said, it's about a 4.5-inch square. This is from Stamperia. And the first card is one that Debbie did. And what I am not sure that you can see on the camera is the pink that is behind this seafoam butter. Yeah, maybe you can see it there. But in person, it just makes it so much prettier. It would be fine just with the stencil butter on white, but you know, it just packs a bigger punch with that pink behind it. So let me show you what she did. And here is my piece of cardstock, white cardstock. And this has a couple of layers, as you would expect. So going to put this on my craft mat. Craft mat, low tack tape, those are just indispensable in doing stenciling. Now, Stamperia has this little hook, and what happens is it slides into their kind of their packaging, which is what this is. So of course I take that out. You could clip it if you wanted to. If you've got pegboard, you could hook it on. So just whatever you like. I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to use a wrinkly piece of my low tack that I am repurposing. And then I'm going to go with this. This is Lovely Lilac. Now I've been calling it pink. It is a light purple. And I'm going to do it into the area here. And again, just like everything else, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to get that in. Now I'm using the blending brush. And this is a very light color. So in order to make it show, I'm going to go, a couple of times over each area. So just like so. And exactly what started to happen is what you don't want to have happen. You don't want it to buckle and come back on top of you. Now, that's exactly what I don't want it to do. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to lift this off. Again, like I say, I like to do it and just lift it a little bit to see that did I get what I wanted? And yes, I did. Now I can lift it and I can remove. Okay, here is the trick, is that it was like this. Remember that hook was at the top? Then what Debbie tells us is to turn it one turn, so 1/4, and put it down again. And this time she added, and I don't know that I'm going to be doing it, she added seafoam stencil butter, beautiful, soft teal, and went over it again. And that's where you get that shine behind or on top of the lilac. Just really pretty. And it's just exactly as I did on the very first card. You're just going to use your palette knife and just spread it. But I think the idea of turning the stencil and using two different products in the same area. So this is using obviously the ink pad and the stencil butter. You might want to remember the color combination of a Lovely Lilac with seafoam. That's always a fun thing to do. Then so let that dry after you get the seafoam on top of it. And then the products that she's used. So this has been matted twice. And what she used was the Whispering Florals solid cardstock. So the pink and then the soft green on both of them. And then her card is 5 by 6.5 inches. So she covered it first by using the Whispering Florals, and there's a green pattern you can see in the back. And then she put another piece that she matted on pink on top, and then she turned the square on point and glued it, and then just trimmed off the edges. So that all makes sense. Okay, so you're covering it, then you are matting. This is one of the big cutouts, matting it on pink, and then taking this piece that you have double matted, turning it on point, gluing it down, and just trimming those 2 points. Now there's a little border here out of the solid cardstock, out of pink and the same green. And this is out of the Whispering Florals die cuts. So You Are in My Thoughts is right there. So the Whispering Florals is the piece that is coordinating so beautifully. So we've got 3 companies' products being used here. So Whispering Florals from Hot Off the Press, Hunky Dory, 4 companies, Stencil Butter from that creative workshop, and then Stamperia Stencil. So that's pretty nice. But they all work together. That's what's even better. And there are some dazzles here, and these are 2 dazzles. They are the new pink that we started last year. So the pink border and the pink jewel. And that's just what they're called. They're not shiny, they're not sparkly, they're just pink. And so you can see the tiny dazzles. Probably didn't even notice that, did you? I didn't at first. So they're there, and there's the pink border right along that little border. And then this is out of the light pink ribbon set too. So beautifully done. Okay, I have one more project, but let me clean this up first. Okay, here is our charming last card, and you can probably tell where the stencil was used. It is down at the bottom. And that's really a good thing to know, is that you're not limited just by the stencil size, because you can make it cover, well, you could have made it cover the whole card. Lene didn't want to do that. She just wanted it at the bottom. And you can make it be a beautiful background. So what she has done is taken her 5 by 6.5 inch card, and she has inked it with 2 colors. It is actually khaki for the green and teal that we used on an earlier card. So that was used on the edge of her card, and she went quite a ways in, so that worked nicely. Now, to do this part is going to be the stencil, as you know, but it's also done with using something else that is in the Astro Paste, and this is called Later Gator. Okay, well that makes sense, because gators, I would think, are green, and like all of the Astro Pastes, let's get in even closer. They are sparkly, so you can see how wonderfully sparkly they are. So just like the Slippery When Wet, the Later Gator is sparkly, and just it's going to go right on with a palette knife, just like I showed you earlier. So I'm not going to demonstrate that again, but it is done directly on the card. Now you can ink it first and then put the Astro Paste, or do the reverse. It's certainly up to you. Now for this charming little guy, he has been made out of the Gnomes and More Gnomes, which was recent release. And you can see the chipboard, you can see this little guy, and he is holding a basket of flowers, which is right here. Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you're in that close and even closer, just to let you see that there's a lot of detail that has been done into the chipboard. So it doesn't go all the way through, but it just goes partially, and it just gives you so much detail. As I said, makes it easy to color these. So what Lene did is she used her tri-blend markers, because that's what we love around here, and you can see how she colored the edges darker in each area and then lighter toward the center. So there's our little gnome. Here is the flowers that this little little spray right there, the basket, which is right here, and that's another little spray of flowers that is right in the middle. And he is foam taped onto a circle. Now, earlier I showed you the circle dies, and they of course are buried on my table. Oh, there they are. Okay, that's why I have an 8-foot-long table. So there's the circle and scallop, so you can see that she took the circle, and the paper that she used is also the Gnomes and More Gnomes, happens to be the 6 by 6. You can see that denim looking paper right there. And so he was foam taped, and those layers were foam taped onto that circle. And then the plain, or the solid color, is, as you would expect, out of the Gnomes and More Gnomes 12 by 12 solid. You can see all the variety of colors. Now you're seeing some shine in there. Well, and obviously I should tell you that's the scallop die, of course, a little bit larger. So this is glued down flat, this is foam taped, he's foam taped, they're foam taped, and this is double or triple foam tape, just to keep that going. Now, the sparkling that you're seeing behind him, which I think is so really effective, as well as in the corners, is done with our lime Jewel Dazzles, and as you probably know, there are 540 on a sheet. How do I know? Because I doggone well counted them. And there you go, just a real fun mixture of sparkle and shine around our little gnome. And the ribbon, let me see, the ribbon is out of the blue ribbon set, I believe, and simply just make your bow. In fact, Lene used 2 lengths of ribbon, treated them as one, and made that bow and zodded it in place. Very, very fun. So you can see this too is a very different take on this stencil, which is exactly what we want to share with you, is different ways to use the stencils for this collection. So what we have is the Bluebells, and the Ornate. And 4 ideas, 2 of each one. And we do have a money saver, because we always do. It is on the right-hand side of your screen, and it includes these 4 sheets of Petite Dazzles. So just letting you know that that is there. And there is also on the right-hand side of our screen our subscription. If you would like to get 2 stencils every month and get them before the Webisodes, and maybe you have a chance to play with them, or you can just look at them, that is what the subscription will do. Every single month you'll get at least 2 stencils. Now, upon occasion, you get more for the same price. We also will send you a free goodie. This time, we're sending you 4 sheets of the Petite Dazzle. So that's an extra bonus this month. And it is in our money saver. It's also right there. Debbie has taken, and Lene have taken, the steps to, along with their materials list, of giving you some extra information, especially for that very first card, which has so many layers and is so doggone gorgeous. So those are also for you. Just click on the card down below, and that works very nicely. I want to thank both Debbie and Lene for their creative efforts in sharing these ideas with you and being very careful to give you different ideas, and I really appreciate that from them. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank you for being part of our Paper Wishes family. If you're watching us on YouTube, please head on over to paperwishes.com, where you'll find all of these, you'll find the instructions, and you'll find the money saver, because we're watching out for your pocketbook. Okay, thank you again, and we'll see you probably tomorrow. Bye-bye.